Your neighbor probably knows things about your dog that you never see. They know when the barking begins after you leave the house. They know how long it lasts and which days sound worse than others. But you rarely witness those moments because you are never there when they happen. When you return home, your dog looks normal again, maybe excited, maybe calm, maybe simply lying on the sofa as if nothing happened. From your perspective, the house seems peaceful. From your dog's perspective, something very different may have unfolded during those hours. Behavioral researchers discovered this by doing something simple. They placed cameras inside homes and watched what dogs actually did when owners left. What those cameras captured revealed one of the most misunderstood patterns in dog psychology. Your dog is not simply passing time while you are away. In many cases, their brain is reacting to your absence in ways most owners never imagine. And the process begins earlier than you might think, often before you even close the door. In this video, we will explore what dogs actually experience when you are not home, and the hidden psychological mechanisms shaping their behavior while you are gone. To understand what happens when you leave, we need to travel back thousands of years. Long before dogs lived in houses, their ancestors lived in social hunting groups. Wolves survived through tight coordination with their pack members. Separation from the group in the wild is not a small inconvenience. It can mean danger, starvation, or death. Because of this, mammals evolved a biological alarm system for social separation. Young animals call for their parents when they disappear. Pack animals search for missing group members. And vocalization helps reunite individuals with the group. Modern dogs still carry this ancient survival program inside their nervous system. But today, the pack often looks very different. Instead of several wolves, the dog's entire social world may revolve around one human. When that person leaves the house, the brain may interpret the event as temporary abandonment. Researchers from the University of Milan studied this phenomenon using home cameras. They found that vocalization often begins around 3 minutes after the owner leaves. Dogs bark, whine, or scratch the door in an attempt to reconnect with the missing social partner. This behavior is not random noise. It is the modern echo of an ancient survival signal. Like a lighthouse calling ships back through the fog. The dog's brain is attempting to restore the pack. Dogs do not simply enjoy being around humans. Their brains form real biological attachment bonds with them. One of the key chemicals involved in this bond is oxytocin. Oxytocin is often called the bonding hormone. It is released during social touch, eye contact, and emotional connection. When dogs interact with their owners, oxytocin levels increase in both species. Scientists have observed this process in controlled studies of human and dog interaction. The result is a powerful emotional feedback loop. The dog feels calm when near the owner. The brain learns that this human predicts safety and stability. But every bonding system also has a mirror image. If the attachment figure disappears, the brain registers the loss of that safety signal. The stress system activates like a silent alarm in the background. Heart rate rises slightly. Breathing becomes faster. The dog may begin pacing through the house or waiting near the door. Researchers at Kyoto University's Dog Cognition Lab discovered something remarkable. Mutual eye contact between dogs and owners increases oxytocin in both individuals. The process resembles the emotional bonding between human parents and infants. In simple terms, your dog's emotional balance is partly regulated by your presence. When you leave, the brain must suddenly adjust to that missing signal. When scientists place cameras inside homes, a pattern begins to emerge. The first stage usually happens immediately after the door closes. Some dogs run toward the door and vocalize. Others pace between rooms or scratch at windows. This stage resembles an active search for the missing social partner. But after several minutes, the behavior often changes. The barking stops. The house becomes quiet again. From an outside perspective, it looks like the dog has settled down. However, physiological data reveals something more complex. Panting may increase instead of decrease. Heart rate remains elevated. The dog is not truly relaxed. It has simply shifted from active protest to silent vigilance. Another fascinating pattern appears over longer observation periods. Activity tends to occur in cycles. Every 20 to 30 minutes, the dog may show another burst of movement. Then the house becomes quiet again. Then another cycle begins. These repeating waves of activity suggest the dog's brain remains alert for signs of your return. In contrast, dogs without separation stress behave very differently. Studies from the Swedish University of Agricultural Sciences observed relaxed dogs alone for several hours. Those dogs spent almost all their time resting quietly. Occasionally, they drank water or moved to another sleeping spot, but most of their day looked calm and uneventful. The difference between these two patterns is subtle but important. One dog is resting, the other is waiting. And waiting can be surprisingly exhausting for the brain. One of the most misunderstood signs appears when dogs stop reacting completely. Many owners interpret silence as proof that their dog has adapted, but psychology suggests another possibility. A concept called learned helplessness may help explain the behavior. This idea was originally studied by psychologist Martin Seligman. Animals exposed to uncontrollable stress sometimes stop trying to change the situation. Instead of fighting the circumstance, they become passive. In some dogs, repeated unsuccessful attempts to reunite with their owner may produce a similar pattern. After barking and searching repeatedly, the brain stops expecting that these actions will help. The dog becomes quiet, not because it feels safe, but because it no longer expects its behavior to change anything. This quiet state can be mistaken for calmness, yet internal stress may still be present. Researchers studying long-term cortisol levels discovered an unusual pattern. Some highly anxious dogs actually showed lower long-term cortisol levels. Scientists believe this occurs when the stress system has been overactive for long periods. The system becomes exhausted and begins producing less cortisol. This creates a strange illusion. The dog looks peaceful on the outside, but internally, the nervous system may still be under strain. Sometimes, the quietest house hides the most complicated emotional story. Fortunately, dogs are also capable of learning something powerful. They can learn that departures are temporary. The brain constantly tracks patterns and builds predictions about the future. If leaving the house consistently leads to uncertainty, anxiety increases. But if departures are followed by predictable returns, the brain begins updating its expectations. Behavior specialists call this process graduated exposure. The training begins with extremely small separations, walking to the door and coming back, touching the handle and returning again, standing outside briefly before re-entering the house. Each repetition teaches the dog a new prediction. The human leaves, the human returns. Over time, the nervous system begins to relax. Another fascinating discovery adds a deeper emotional layer to this story. Researchers at Linköping University studied cortisol levels in dogs and their owners. They discovered that long-term stress levels were synchronized between the two. If the owner lived with chronic stress, the dog often showed similar hormonal patterns. When owners were calmer, dogs tended to show calmer biological profiles as well. It appears that dogs do not only observe our behavior, they emotionally synchronize with us over time, like two clocks gradually adjusting until their rhythms match. The calmer the household environment becomes, the easier it is for dogs to feel safe during absence. Animal behavior rarely happens without a reason. What appears to be boredom, mischief, or stubbornness often reflects deeper survival instincts. When dogs react strongly to your absence, they are not trying to cause trouble. Their brains are responding to the disappearance of an important social partner. Some dogs handle that absence calmly. Others cycle through stress responses until the owner returns. And some become quiet in ways that hide their internal tension. Understanding these patterns helps us respond with patience rather than frustration. Because most dogs are not trying to break rules, they are simply navigating a world their instincts were never designed for. If your dog shows severe distress, sudden behavioral changes, or destructive behavior when alone, consult a veterinarian or certified animal behavior specialist. This video is intended for educational purposes and should not replace professional advice. But the next time you walk out the door and wonder what your dog is doing at home, remember something simple. Your dog is not just waiting for the day to pass, it is waiting for the return of the one nervous system it trusts most. And if you enjoy exploring the hidden psychology behind pet behavior, consider subscribing to Pet Brain Explained. Because when we understand the science behind our pets, everyday moments begin revealing extraordinary stories about the animal mind.